What's up, everyone? This is the Fraser LeVay podcast. We are on baby watch in the LeVay household. Supposed to come yesterday, but with new first-time moms, it typically is a week or so late. So if this podcast disappears for a week, you know why. But just keep on coming back. Today, we've got Uncle Blaiso on. We're talking college football playoff because I think tomorrow, Tuesday, is when they announce, right, the first potential rankings for the playoffs. And then a quick little World Series update since that ended last week after our last podcast. And of course, NFL winners, losers, and some other stuff along the way. So, Blaze, we're going to clip this out because we want to know our college football expert. If you don't know,
I don't know about that.
Who makes the college football playoffs? It's 12 teams.
Yeah.
And is there explain which Power 5 conferences all the winners go or the top 5 go?
Yeah, so basically it's the top 4 now, right? There's 4 major conferences. So the top 4 seeds will be the conference champions from those. So the SEC, the Big 10, Big 12, and the ACC. So those will be the top 4 seeds. They'll all get a bye in the first round. And then the next, the remaining 8 are going to be basically the top, 5 through 12 in the rankings. And so they will play the first round game. So it'll be 5, 12, 6, 11, 7, 10, on and on.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be at the site of the higher seeded team. So even if you don't win your conference, you really want to finish kind of in that 5 through 7, 8, I guess, slot, because then you're hosting a game. Right, you're hosting that first round, and then after that, then they start going. The next round will go into bowl games. Basically, They make the bowl games like the second round of the playoffs. So the quarterfinals are actually I think this year it's the Fiesta, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Rose Bowl, and Sugar Bowl.
Okay.
And then the Capital One and the Goodyear Cotton Bowl are the semifinals, and then the championship game is. It's just the championship game.
Yeah, and that one's in Atlanta.
Yeah. So really, really important. Obviously, win your conference, you get a bye. But yeah, even just everything that's going to come along. I think if I was a team that had hopes, losing that conference game is not the end of the world, right? Especially if you're pretty good and you finish in that 5, 6 seed and you're playing the 11 or 12 seed in your own stadium, just the extra revenue and the buzz, everything it creates at the university, I think that's the honey hole, right? Obviously you want the bye and you want the conference title, but if you don't get it, it's not the end of the world, right? You're looking at, say teams right now, if you have Georgia and Texas meet again for the SEC title, right? The winner gets a bye, but if Georgia or Texas lost and they're hosting a 12 seed at their stadium, that's that's not a bad consolation prize. So. It's going to be super interesting. I think that it opens the door a little bit for obviously an independent like Notre Dame to get in, or somebody from the group of 5, the mid majors that's highly ranked, right? If it's Boise State or someone like that, if they run the table and have a good year, they're going to get into the top 12 and make the playoffs. So beyond exciting, and it's going to be 3 tremendous weeks of football to be going along with the stretch drive of the NFL. So it's pretty much from December 20th until the Super
January
Bowl.
20th.
December 20th is the first round.
Yeah, no, I was saying it looks like the Atlanta game, the finals is January 20th, so it's a whole month of.
Right, wow. But then you're also mixing in the start of the NFL playoffs, basically December the 20th till Super Bowl is going to be couch potato city on anytime there's football on. It's going to be amazing. Just huge football. I feel bad for the other sports during that time because, what's going to be hockey and basketball, I guess, are going to be going on. And I mean, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Really.
It's going to
get crushed. So, it's going to be great.
I'm trying to think, when was the national championship normally before this? The first week of January, right? Or...
Yeah, it kind of has been pushed back a little bit ever since, the old days when everything was done on New Year's Day was the big one. And then they when they went to the 4-team playoff, it was they'd have the semifinals on New Year's Day and then the week after. And then last year, I think it might even been pushed back even a little bit further. But generally, it was usually kind of like the 8th, 9th, 10th, somewhere in there. They tried to put it on a Monday to fill the hole. Like after Monday Night Football is done for the year, they sneak in with that the title game on a Monday night. So
because I was thinking it's pretty late this year, January 20th, which I assume that's going to be conference games for the NFL. So you'll have like Saturday, Sunday conference games, and then the national championship.
Right. Like what a weekend! What a weekend! And even the 9th, 10th, like they're playing the semifinals on Thursday and Friday. So that leads me to believe that either that's the last weekend of the NFL season or that's their first weekend of playoffs. Because they're obviously not putting on games on Saturday, Sunday, which means they're not wanting to compete with the NFL. So
it's gonna be epic.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to know whether that's the 17th games or the wild card round. But either way, those are going to be some pretty outstanding weekends.
Yeah, I wonder. So back to the conferences, there's no cap, right? Like the SEC could have 4 teams in hypothetically.
Yeah, I don't believe there's any kind of a cap, and I think looking at the landscape right now, it's certainly looking that way. Like the Big Ten and the SEC are going to have at least 3, at least, right? It may be more. Certainly, probably the SEC is going to have 4 because the ACC is really no good, right? Like they're going to have Miami, and maybe if there's an upset, right, and someone else wins the title, they get another one, and the same as the Big 10 or the Big 12. Like
Big 12 is trash,
right? There's a lot of junk there. So BYU runs the table, and then we're to get upset in the title game, then maybe there's a path to get an extra team. But I think you're looking at 3 for sure and 4 teams from the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah.
Right. Because even if they were 4 plus the 2 conference champions, that still leaves 2 more spots. Right. So 4 is not unrealistic at all.
Definitely. Yeah. Because I'd much rather see Alabama than, all respect, like SMU, Iowa State. I'd rather Alabama can actually give some of these teams a run for their money than I want to see Georgia blow out SMU or Texas blow out SMU by 100.
Totally. But how scary is that, though? If you are one of those, like I mentioned, it'd be great to be the 5-6 you're looking at, whether the 4th, the 10, 11, 12 seeds is going to be the 4th team for one of these conferences. So it could be Bama, it could be LSU, it could be Ole Miss, like it could be Indiana, it could be a team that's going to scare some people. So it's going to be unbelievable. I'm so excited for the playoffs. It's going to just be, they're going to look at it and at some point we're all going to just be like, why haven't we done this? It's like 100 years of college football. We're getting to this now. Like,
no doubt.
What in the hell was wrong with us? So it's going to be fantastic.
I also want to coin a term for week 10. It'll either be week 9, 10, or 11 of college football. But this week it was week 10. And I think we need to call week 10 fraud week. It's where we find out all the frauds, or at least a good chunk of them.
Yeah.
And as Texas Tech alum myself, Texas Tech's always on fraud week watch when we're good. Because we always kill teams, right? Like week 1 through 7. Because we're not playing anyone in the Big 12. And then all of a sudden we actually play conference teams and we end up with a 500 record. But this is where we find out. So we've got Houston beat Kansas State. Iowa State lost at home to Texas Tech, which Iowa State's that perfect. All the tier 2 teams, like Texas Tech's a tier 2 team. Iowa State is a tier 2 team. Like they always do good, and then they actually play they cannibalize each other. Like Texas Tech's always going to lose to Iowa State or vice versa, or Kansas State. Like no one's really that good who can just run the table. Like BYU is going to lose to some mediocre team, I'm sure, before the end of the season.
Yeah.
But so Kansas State lost. Louisville beat Clemson on the road. South Carolina crushed A&M. SMU crushed Pitt. Ranked favorites lost 6 games during fraud week. So,
and you know what? It goes back to like a month ago when you look at the start of the schedule, you're like, okay, Ohio State, Penn State. And other than that, there's really not a lot of marquee games, and it was upset city. Like we said, so many ranked teams lost, and it was like that. The week before, there was like a couple huge games coming up, and the week before, it didn't look like there was anything going on. And then like 4 top 11 teams lost. Like it's so good. Like the landscape of college football is so different now than it was a few years back, where it was okay. Who's awesome this year? Is it Alabama or is it Georgia? And who's the one or two teams that might hang with them. Like, is there
Yeah.
anybody? And now, like, it's so wide open. I think we can thank NAL for that, the NIL for that, right?
Mhm.
And maybe the portal to an extent, but the more teams that have a chance to actually compete for a national title, like actually get into now a 12-team playoff instead of having to be top four, the more the talent's going to spread out, and
Mhm.
I think you're already seeing it. And
Yeah, I think that's huge because we always talked about it before. It just sucked. Like, if you're Alabama, it's the greatest recruiting tool on earth. Like, hey, you're going to be in the
yeah,
playoffs, and there's only 4 teams in the playoffs. Like, no one's going to Miami, no one's going to Oregon, Texas Tech,
no,
whatever. At least comparatively, it's crazy.
yeah,
So now at least everyone has a shot.
yeah, absolutely.
I was looking at who I like for the top 12, and the one thing that stuck out for me is with the SEC and Georgia, I look
Yeah,
at them like Kansas City, where I'm not going to put anyone number one over them until they get beat. And I just don't believe in Oregon as much. And I just go back to like recruiting classes when I bet, because I think,
okay,
sure, it's coaching, it's everything, but every year we see just these athletes are twice the size in the SEC of everyone else. And I quickly Googled offensive line size, and
okay.
Oregon, who's number one right now, 9-0, they beat OSU at home, a very close one. They haven't played anyone huge aside from that, I don't think, correct?
No,
Yeah.
no.
So their Oregon's offensive line was like 6'2", 6'1", average 305, 310 pounds. Georgia's offensive line is 6'6", 340, average. It's just
They're
night
mammoth.
and day in the SEC. It's crazy.
It is. The only thing I would caution, and why I think Oregon is an outliner,
Mm.
is they got a sixth-year quarterback in Dylan Gabriel, who
Yeah.
is like he's going to have every record, right? Like he's
Mm.
about to pass Case Keenum if he didn't this past week for total touchdowns ever in the NCAA. So I think that can't be discounted, and
Mm.
their scheme leads to having smaller linemen, but I totally get your point, right? And you see it
Mm.
even on the defensive side of the ball. I thought it was really evident in the Georgia Texas game where Texas coming from the Big 12, great team, great tons of talent everywhere, and their first real test in the SEC as they're starting to get those players on board. Georgia manhandled them on both sides of the line, like their D
Mm.
line. And Texas has some guys that are highly rated
Yeah.
recruits on the O line, and Georgia just manhandled them. Like they
Mm.
was, they just dominated the game. So, obviously Texas now will start to get more and more of those players. But your point is certainly correct, right? Like
Mm.
sometimes it's just a different, it's a different league. But
Yeah.
I think that the Oregon team and their speed, there's ways around that for them. So they're going to be
Yeah.
a tough out.
I'd like to see, especially with the NIL, because the rankings, Oregon's kind of often up there, but not like as consistent as Georgia, Alabama, etc. But doesn't the head of Nike, the owner of Nike, what's his name again? I'd
Phil
love to see
Knight.
how much money is
Yeah.
he dumping in now with NIL? Like,
Oh,
I'm surprised that hasn't been a story,
it'll
because
be insane.
he has to be the number one kind of known person for
Yeah.
lover of a college, and he owns Nike. So
Nike.
I mean,
Yeah, I know it's nuts. But I think he's always put money in, but now it's actually going, instead of
yeah,
just having all the facilities and 17 different uniforms. Like players are actually getting some now. So
exactly. Like, I wonder how
fantastic.
much he's investing.
Oh,
I'm surprised. Yeah, I guess I wish there would be a story on what he's adding in, because it's got to be
yeah.
crazy.
Those will come out though, right? Because there's a
Mm.
lot of those guys. I mean, for every guy that owns Nike, there's dudes
Yeah,
down south that own oil mines.
that's like Texas Tech. Texas Tech is like 21st ranked, and I'm like, it's all oil money, out in
Yeah,
Midland and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, it's all oil money. So there's no shortage there either. Like they can
Yeah,
hang with Nike.
absolutely. And then I'm looking at the Heisman right now. So Cam Ward's in the lead, Travis Hunter's second, really close, and Dylan Gabriel's third.
Yeah.
Wow.
To me, like Travis Hunter, like, it's
Yeah.
most outstanding player, right? If we just
Mhm.
don't constantly lean towards the quarterbacks, and I know it always ends up getting there, but the Heisman is the most outstanding player. This son of a bitch is like on the field for 100+ plays a game,
Yeah.
and not just out there, filling a spot and being a reserve guy. Like he's an absolute difference maker on both sides of the ball. Like last week, 2 touchdowns and 4 passes knocked
Mhm.
down on defense. Like never leaves the field. I don't know. If I was voting, it would be a landslide right now.
especially with no quarterback that's really doing anything. Like Cam Ward, I guess, but it's not like he's got crazy competition. He's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's typically an SEC quarterback. Well, I'll tell you, I made 3 college football bets to make the year because there wasn't really a ton of great value. I did Bama to win the national championship solely on value 14-1. Milrow 15-1 Heisman, and Travis Hunter a 65-1 Heisman.
65?
Yes.
Wow.
I placed it last year too. I was like,
wow.
Oh my god! If he didn't get hurt last year, actually their record was kind of shit. But
yeah,
so that's
one
of my favorite bets.
Nice little chunk of change on that.
It wasn't a huge amount, but it was like a decent amount. It'll make me pretty happy.
See, to me, he's the runaway leader right now, I think, but I don't have a vote, so I guess it doesn't mean shit. But
we will.
If you're talking most outstanding player, right? Yeah, that's what we need. We need to boost that into 65-1 ticket. I'd probably buy in on half of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I've been thinking that too. As long as they have like a respectable record, you'd think he has to be up there.
And there's now with the new, with a couple of those teams that you mentioned, Iowa State and was it Kansas State losing, there's now a path for them to get into that title game and play for a championship. So,
can you imagine BYU winning the Big 12? How disgusting is that?
Right?
So lame.
I know. Or but at least Colorado, they can go back to their roots in the Big 12.
Yeah, and at least it's like a place someone's heard of. A lot of people are like, "What's a BYU?"
No doubt.
A bunch of Mormons
playing Arizona State for the title, and everyone's just like, "What?"
Yeah, so weak.
That's why, it won't happen because they're trash this year. But I think either Stanford or Cal playing Clemson for the ACC title would just be hilarious. Yeah. I think they're combined 2-12 in the ACC so far, so it's not going to happen. But just the geography just doesn't make sense.
That would be sweet. Sticking with college and Fraud Watch, I don't think he's a fraud actually, but Carson Beck's draft stock is a bit of a loser. Because he was top. Yeah, he was top 3.
He sure was
to be drafted.
He sure was.
He's thrown 8 picks in the last 3 games.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Because he's got all the tools, right? He's a big, tall, strapping guy, throws the ball well, and then he just comes out and just throws it to the wrong team all the time. And then he comes back and he shows kind of why he's there. But I think he's even the game that they watched a little bit last week when they were playing, and even he's bringing him back. But shoot, guys are wide open. They're designing plays, and he's actually finally just getting some wide open guys to hit. They're running the ball. He doesn't look great at all.
Yeah, well, and there's been a lot of viral videos going out about him, so I don't know if this is it, but he's driving Lamborghinis, speeding and doing all this stuff. I mean,
oh really?
Because he's won a national championship, right?
Yeah,
2 years ago. Was he on the team 2 years ago or no?
He might have been on the team. I don't think he was leading the way though.
Starting, no. But I just wonder, are we gonna start seeing kids are millionaires? He's literally famous as you can be in college football. Yeah, got everything he wants. I mean,
got lazy.
Maybe just partying and enjoying it a bit, and maybe brings it back around when it matters. He's like, we're gonna make the playoffs. I don't care. I'm getting drunk. I'm doing what I want.
But I think isn't getting a fence car and speeding all over the streets basically a class at Georgia at this point?
Yeah, it's true. Exactly.
I mean, did they get extra credits? Because it seems like they're all doing it. Yeah, it's they need to get a handle on that. My God, this rap sheet is quite impressive.
They're the new Miami.
Yeah, it doesn't even barely make the news anymore. Georgia player arrested for speeding. Oh no shit!
Yeah.
That's he's supposed to be doing that. It's just part of an assignment.
Yeah, that's funny. And then another loser, James Franklin. We were both watching the game together via text.
Yeah,
Penn State had 3 straight runs at the end of the 4th, and then they started on their 4th down. They had the Hoggy out wide.
Yeah,
they're like, I'll go out there, and not one defender.
3rd and 4th. On 2 different plays, they did that.
Not one Ohio State defender went out there. They're just all right, we know he's running back in. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, no doubt. At least the second time, you know what? As soon as they snap it, just throw it to him.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know, put him. Just tell him to be even wider, and then he's just one-on-one with some guy coming out there trying to chase him for 2 yards. Yeah, I don't know. That was such bad play calling, and I'm wondering because I've seen it happen the last couple of weeks in both college and pro. The short yardage teams just aren't getting anywhere. Whatever happened to the old just like fake the run to the left and then the quarterback bootleg? Like, because if you watch the ends all the time, they are crashing. Everyone's just crashing down to that running back, and I haven't seen that play in so long, and I don't have any idea why.
That's a good point. I can't remember the last time I've seen like a naked kind of bootleg where the quarterback just trots into the end zone.
Yeah. Like, I still remember the highlight once when Peyton Manning did it and ran for a touchdown, and he didn't even tell anybody. The play was the run, and he's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna keep it. And and everybody, there was like 21 people in this pile, and then he's running over to the cone by himself with his hand in the air, and it's like, I haven't seen that play in so long. And all you have to do with it is add like your tight end or receiver from the play side to sneak through and then run across the back of the end zone so that there is an option to throw. Like, I haven't seen it, and when we do, it's gonna be a huge play because everyone's just selling out to stop these runs, and they are. And like the short yardage game seems to be really lost right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, I mean, this is because I'm always watching Miami in the NFL.
Yeah,
they're great of just getting people wide open. I always tell our buddy Mike, who's a Miami fan and a Tua apologist to his death. I'm like, yeah, they're great when there's, Tyreek Hill is running 10 yards wide open. He's like, oh, well, our red zone sucks. I was like, yeah, because Tua doesn't have there's no space for their weird little shitty offense they do. So once they actually get down, and this is a lot of teams, right, running kind of a, not air raid, but at least spacing and that kind of stuff. So then once you get down to the goal line, all your trickery shit and spacing doesn't exist.
And teams are playing it that way. They're letting them get down there. Just, okay, we'll just play in our 2 deep shell and get inside the 30, and then you got nowhere to go. So, I often wondered why like teams like Miami. I mean, I guess they can't now because their quarterback has some health issues. But if you're a spread team like that, when you get down to the 1 yard line, just keep spreading everybody out and just put your quarterback under center. Run a sneak. Like, you're usually going to be 3 down linemen, maybe 4. Right? Like, at least try it once in a while. Instead of these guys, they're these spread teams, and they're soft, and they think, okay, well, we're just going to bring in more hoggies and run straight ahead, and then they get knocked back on their ass 3 yards.
Yeah, to your point of the last thing you haven't seen lately with the naked bootlegs, I only saw Trevor Lawrence try it, and it didn't work. But like, just like you said, spread the field, and then he just ran a quarterback draw when it was wide open.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen that as much in like the goal line instance.
No, not at all.
All right, well, we touched a little college football. Quick recap so you can celebrate the Dodgers World Series win. And before we celebrate, Hernandez, does he have the greatest arm in the history of the world? I only watched bits and pieces. There's 2 throws he made that were the most ridiculous throws I've ever seen in my life.
I don't, and it's not like he's not known to have like a howitzer. Like, he's got a good arm, but man, he just put the ball in like the perfect spot, and
the most perfect spot. Unreal.
It's awesome. He was on fire, and then it had a huge hit in the clinching game. Love that guy. I hope they re-sign him. I love rubbing it into all my Blue Jays fan buddies up here because they let him go a couple years ago for some weird reason. Like, all the guy ever did was mash baseballs, and that wasn't good enough for them, so they let him go. And last year had no outfielders, so it was it's good to see. I'm glad for him. He seems like he's always been a good player, and he, like I said, he came up huge, and he's not known for his defense. That's what's great about it, and that's what happens in the playoffs. Is weird things happen, and when he had to step up and put the ball right on the spot a couple times, he came through like absolutely clutch throws. It was fantastic.
That was like, he literally could have just hit a can off someone's head from like deep left field. It was insane.
Yeah.
So the Blue Jays let him go, and then the Red Sox just let Mookie Betts go, and there's the Dodgers just are collecting all these guys.
It was a trade, right? It was but like, if anyone could have afforded to keep Mookie, and he was so beloved there, right? Like, he was, how could you not? Like, no one's ever said a bad word about the guy. Like, he's like the best team guy ever, or works his ass off on the field. And for whatever reason, Boston was like, we're not going to be able to afford to pay him. And so traded him. And and the key piece actually in this, like, there's a bunch of obviously just young guys, but one of the key pieces of the trade was Alex Verdugo, who ended up batting 9 and playing left field for the Yankees in the World Series. So like, Boston, not only did they get rid of Mookie, but they basically ended up with sweet piss all for him. Like, that's still helping their team right now. So I think there was one pitcher that might have played a little bit for them this year, but it was a huge win on that trade as well. Nice. Everything's coming up Dodgers. It's fantastic. Couldn't be happier watching that. and win the World Series. I know Gordo's watching from up top and celebrating on as well. So yeah,
Absolutely.
and they're just getting started. They're going to be even better next year, right?
Yeah,
Like they got
Otani pitching.
and Glass now, who's a stud starter. He'll be back next year. A couple pieces they need to sign, and but they will. They're going to go out and probably sign another shortstop.
Aren't they
And
saying Soto's leaving the Yankees and going to the Dodgers?
yeah, I don't know. Like they're always rumored, right? Because they'll spend. So
Yeah.
anytime there's a player like that, they're going to be in the mix. But personally, I'd rather see them spend the money to make sure that the pitching is able to keep Walker Buehler. We need a shortstop. Need another shortstop. Edmund can then just play mostly outfield, second base, and and probably someone like Max Muncy. He's not going to have many years left, so another someone there. I'd rather see them just kind of get some more good kind of mid-tier players rather than spend all that on Soto.
Yeah, and the Yankees, they had an epic collapse. Like there was all time, right?
Yeah. I mean they had a 5-0 lead. And then there's the I think the fifth inning or the fourth inning, they literally just turned into a little league team and started just kicking the ball all over the place. Aaron Judge just dropped a fly ball in center field. First error of the year. Like he's played 150 games. It's his first error he made all year, and that kind of got the ball rolling. And then it was pretty fun to watch because for a minute there I'm looking like their starter was throwing a gem and it was 5-0, and I was like, okay, well, I guess we're going back to LA for game 6 and 7, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then just chip away, and the next thing you know, pop the champagne, baby. I know how much you love that.
Yeah. Oh my God! Enough of that. It's okay for the World Series. I'm fine with it then.
It's like their fourth champagne celebration of the year.
Yeah, it's so bad. I had that in my article as the worst thing on earth. It was baseball teams celebrating every time they have a playoff win. I don't understand how those guys didn't go to jail. Like that's assault. You can't grab a player's glove and arm, especially the arm. That is like, that was I watched it. I was like, this isn't real, right? This is like, I thought it was a joke.
Unbelievable. Did you see what the Yankees did though? Yeah, I have to give them credit for this.
They kicked him out for the next games, right? Or did they do more?
Yeah, so they were. Well, I think MLB told them like those guys no good, but I think the Yankees were going to do it anyway. But they ended up giving the tickets to a young guy that they knew that's fighting cancer. He's like I think 14 or 15 years old, so he got to bring his whole family and sit in those prime seats.
Nice.
So it's good. They kind of took a negative and turned it into a positive, which I like. I don't usually like saying good things about the Yankees, but
if you want to spin it negative, you can say like, "Oh, everyone's going to be upset because those guys could have been heroes," and so the Yankees hid behind the guy with cancer, be like, "Oh no, we're doing a good thing. Don't get mad at us."
Yeah, but when you say everybody's going to be upset, you're really just talking about dirtbag Yankee fans. Like no sane baseball people or fans like thought that was okay. Like some douchebag New Yorkers probably thought, "Oh, look at those guys, they're heroes." But come on, like that's nobody with half a brain thinks that they were right.
They got to get jail time because like just kicking them out for a game like that doesn't. That's not gonna stop it. Like what's gonna? Can you punch a guy now? Like that was like egregious. That was just crazy.
Yeah, no, it was bad news bears, but I mean, it's Bronx. What do you? I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of bad news bears, a great segue. My first loser. In the NFL. Let's get into some NFL. I made a bet, $100 bet today. The Bears under 7.5 wins. Ooh. So I have the loser as the Bears when they finally play a half decent team that's healthy.
Yeah.
Because they get exposed. And I've said Caleb Williams isn't that good. Let me read you their next. Well, I think I have it off the top of my head. The next 9 games. This next game is against Patriots, which could go either way. Drake May's looking good, which we can get to after this one.
Yeah.
Then it goes like in no certain order. It's like Minnesota, Detroit, Green Bay, Seahawks, Minnesota, Detroit, Green Bay, and then some other stud team like Houston or something like that.
They haven't played a divisional game yet?
No, they haven't.
Oh, boy.
So they're just barring something crazy. I see there's a legit chance they have 8 straight losses. It's crazy.
Oh, God. Yeah, I hope so, because that means they're getting one on Sunday.
Yeah. No, that'd be 9 straight losses.
Oh, yeah, let's have that. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
You didn't count that one as an auto? Come on.
I mean, not as an auto, but so it's crazy. The Bears literally have, just like we talked about with the Jags having a crazy schedule, but theirs is even worse. So there's a bet for you. It's my bet of
I
the
like
week.
that. I
It's
really like
Bears
that.
under 7.5.
Yeah. Hey, what happened with old 29 from last week? I saw they were not starting him, but did he end up playing or?
Oh, I think you did end up playing, but
Yeah.
did you read my article this week? No, because I just posted it.
You literally just finished it.
Because I got a loser.
Yeah.
The next loser, another great segue, 2 in a row for Blaiso. We're
Yeah.
gonna have a new segment called the Will Levis Play of the Week. So
Yes.
last week we could have named it the corner from the Bears, and this week, of course, as we know, it's Malachi Corley who dropped the ball before crossing the end zone for the Jets.
Why does this keep happening?
I don't know.
Like,
It's
what?
so insane.
Why does this keep happening? Like, the whole goal of the game is to get across that line
That is
with
the
the
goal.
football. Like, that's how you
goal.
score. Like,
I think so.
it's literally like
Let
you
me
don't ever
Google this.
see a hockey player going in with an empty net and just stick handling, and then right before they get to the goal line, just leave the puck there and wonder if it's going to go in or not. Right? Like,
Well, no.
you wouldn't see like a guy taking a free throw and then his own defender just jumping up and swatting it away from the rim like in the last second. Like, but it's the goal of the game.
It is the goal. I've got the a name for this play. I just thought of it. It's called the Madden Blaiso controller throw play of the game, where all of a sudden a Madden player freezes before he scores a touchdown. And there goes Blaiso's controller smashing on the ground.
Right to the floor. Like Kelsey did to that dude's phone.
Yes. I like it. We need more like stuff like that. Just players lashing out at fans. Kevin Durant's lashing out at Stephen A. Smith, which is great.
Yeah.
I've had enough. Even though if Tua wants to come at me at some point, I'll love it. That's fair.
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't know if it's my turn yet, but I have Jason Kelsey as a huge winner of the week.
Yeah.
Because he's like, and he can't even get in shit from his bosses, right? Like, he's everywhere now. And they love him on TV. And
he's like the world's favorite person.
Right? He's just walking around being a man of the people, having some beers, having a good time. And then this guy's going to be in his ear, calls his brother a not very nice word. I won't say it on the podcast, but everyone knows what I'm talking about and has heard it. And he turns around and just spikes bro's phone like through the earth. I think winner of the week. I think he's the absolute number one. Like, I thought it was just awesome. And then he ends up on the ground and he picks it up again and he turns around and he looks at the guy and he's like, "Who's the now?"
Yeah.
And you can just see this dude is just like, yeah, I guess me. I just
it happened
whining. Oh, my phone! Like,
I'm gonna sue you. I'm gonna sue you.
Oh, you're in so much trouble when I get home.
And I love it. It happened in the NBA too. Someone called Ben Simmons he said some terrible stuff, and then one of his players, and Ben Simmons isn't a beloved NBA player, but one of his players went back and started just cursing him out, be like, "Say something now," like right in the guy's face. I think it was actually his son. He cursed him out. He's like, and they got kicked out. And then also, I hate Joel Embiid. Hate's a strong word. I don't like Joel Embiid. But he pushed a reporter because a reporter wrote a story about his brother who just passed away.
Yeah.
Because Embiid basically,
really?
Yeah, so it wasn't that bad, but it was bad. It wasn't a whole story. So Embiid hasn't played all season because it's Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
But he dedicated. Yeah. His new son's name, he made his brother who passed away tragically is his name. I didn't say that very well, but you know what I mean. His son's name is his dead brother's name.
Okay.
And he said that he's
the son
honoring
after his dead brother. That would have been the easy way to say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now he's playing this year in memory of for his son and for his dead brother.
Yeah.
And the writers wrote oh, well, if you're playing in memory of them, you're not doing a good job. At least show up to work, blah, blah, blah. And he named his son and the dead brother in the article. So Embiid pushed him, which I'm like, I love it. Yes. Enough people is taking pot shots at players.
Yeah. Take pot shots at him for not playing fine, but don't bring them into that.
No.
Right. Good for him for standing up. I'm glad. It doesn't sound like he's my kind of player at all. Just basically doesn't ever play. I didn't like that, but no, you don't get to do that. They're still humans. And at the end of the day, these reporters think that they have all these rights because of the journalism integrity and all that other bullshit. Yeah, fine, but there's lines, right? And if you cross the line and you get smacked in the mouth, well, then I guess it shouldn't have crossed the line, right?
Absolutely.
I love it. The best one ever is when Jim Rome made his name for himself. Actually, when he went after Jim Everett back in the day, and he used to call him Chris Everett, the tennis player.
Oh yeah.
And then when he actually finally interviewed him, and he's like, okay, well, we're here with Chris Everett and Jim Everett, who was a monster. Like when you see the video for all the other YouTube, it's a fantastic video. And he basically says, you're not going to call me that anymore. Like, knock it off. And Rome sits back with a smug look. He's like, okay, Chris.
Yeah.
He just flips his table and swats him. And you can see Jim Rome. He pissed down his own leg for sure. Like he would have had to change his pants for sure.
Yeah.
And but that's what you get. Like, and in that case, it worked out for him because it's kind of what put him on the map. But
Yeah.
like, don't cross lines. Yeah,
No
I
doubt.
mean, they're pros. They know people talk about them, and they generally don't hear or care, right? But when you say stuff like that and bring someone's family into it, that's no good. That's unacceptable.
I like it. Winners, athletes coming out at people who are cursing them out and their family out.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, another loser I've got. NFL GMs who don't think running backs matter. So we've got the Bengals, who are, I think, 5th worst running team, seeing Joe Mixon run amok.
Yeah.
We've talked enough about Saquon, who is obviously killing it. And then, what's the other one? Oh, the Cowboys. They don't have a running back to speak of. Dowdle ran bad last week, but they're second worst in the league. Running backs are making a bit of a comeback.
I like it.
Yeah.
I still don't think they are going to the point where they get paid properly, but at least you're seeing, like, okay, you need to have one, right? Like, look on the other side of the field in that game. Atlanta has 2, and even though Bijan hasn't really turned into, I still don't think they should have drafted him where they did, but he's really good, and they got Algier, and they controlled the game against the Cowboys because they could run the ball.
Yeah, the Lions too are just outrageous.
Yeah,
that's arguably the best team in football.
That duo is something else. Like they are a problem.
Yeah,
so I really would like to see Gibbs get 12 more yards to cash in our parlay yesterday. But I told you the story last week about poor Flea just getting hit with injuries.
Yeah,
he had to eat 2 yesterday. We had to pay the whole bet by himself.
Oh no!
We were 3 for 4 on 2 different tickets, and he was the lone outsider both times. Yeah, so he quit again. So we might have an extra spot again next week.
Oh yeah, get me in there. We got speaking of Saquon, the highlights of the year: a battle between Garrett Wilson's Michael Jordan jumpman catch, and then Saquon's spin off a tackle, backwards jump hurdle a guy was insane.
So before you go too far down the road on that one, I want to get my loser of the weekend.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I looked at the video and I had looked it up. I'm like, I got to find out this guy's name, number 22 for the Jaguars. So my loser of the week is poor Jerry Jones, number 22. Sure, he's a great guy and he's a freak athlete in his own right. But boy, when someone leapfrogs you backwards,
oh my God,
tough.
Like, I think that's the greatest play of all time, like highlight, because I was thinking like Garrett Wilson, we've seen amazing catches, at least the most unique greatest play. I've never seen someone spin off one guy and then backwards hurdle a guy. That was insane.
So that's why I got poor Jerry Jones as my loser of the week. Nice. It's just like, and it's got to just be hard to be that. He's obviously like a super freak athlete in his own right. Like he's an NFL player, and then he got hurdled backwards.
I want everyone to just keep on listening to the podcast, but go outside and run and then jump backwards and then see how high they can jump backwards straight up in the air.
Yeah, like you can see the back of my chair. I don't know if I could hurdle that backwards.
No.
I don't think there's any way.
Crazy.
Like, it's, If poor Stace was here, like he'd have a hard enough time doing it to a fire hydrant.
Yeah, that forwards, let alone backwards.
Yeah, what a surprise! Another no-show from Stace, hey?
Stace, he's off traveling the world. He's probably got a website we don't know about.
He probably does. Yeah. Sure, and all this stuff somewhere else.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that Garrett Wilson catch though?
Yes.
Amazing catch, obviously, but I still don't understand what a catch is. So, like, if a guy has his back to the goal line, taps his toes, and then as he's going backwards, his heels hit, no catch, out of bounds. But if you're going down and your shin hits, but then your knee hits the paint, catch.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand because it's to me it's just, it's such a mess. And I'm all for it. I know your point is like, if it's a cool play, let's just let it stand.
Mm.
I'm all for it. Like, give Garrett Wilson the catch. But like, then every time now we see a guy who gets his toes in, and then as he's going to the ground, his like back of his heel hits. Let's call that a
Yeah.
catch. Like, if you can clearly see him tap the toes, and then there's a bit of a delay before the other part hits, that's a catch.
Well, yeah, and to your point, it's like, why wouldn't Isaiah Likely's catch be a catch then? Because like the front part of his studs in his foot hit before his toe hits, hypothetically. You know, like, oh well,
Yeah.
if his heels of his foot came down before, that's the same thing as like his shin to his knee, right? Like
But
that
at
should
least
be a catch then.
that one I get it, because at least then it's
Mhm.
the first point of contact hit the line, right? Like,
Mhm.
this one, it's like the first point of contact. Okay, now he's in, and then eventually he hits the line. And in
Mhm.
some cases, that's not a catch, but in this case, it
Yeah,
was a catch. Like, I just,
it's
it's
true. I
I'm
agree.
still so confused. I don't know what a catch is. I still don't know whether who was it, and the Des Bryant, right? Still don't know if
Mhm.
that was a catch or not. Like,
No.
everyone, we still can't get a
Yeah,
concrete
we
answer
still
of
can't
why,
get it right.
or it was or wasn't. So
I'm
yeah,
I'm
great
glad you
catch. Like,
reminded me.
good
Yeah,
job, Garrett Wilson. But yeah, I think I was actually thinking about this the other day, because we need to add in to specifically talk about the Thursday game, because something wild always happens, and then you forget about it because so much cool stuff happens Sunday and sometimes
yeah.
Monday. Like, the week before was when your boy Sammy D got his face mask in the end zone,
Oh
right in
yeah.
front of two officials, and then
Mhm.
we didn't even touch on the pod because so many other
No,
things had happened, right? Like,
that's true.
so remember that reminder for next week.
Thursdays.
We're losers if we don't bring up the Thursday game. We're
Exactly.
losers of the
Exactly.
week.
And I'm glad you brought up my so everyone, I've had this rule change I've wanted. We'll call it the Fraser LeVay rule, where if there's something great that happens, just let
Yeah.
if it's like 45% or better, you let it happen. So Garrett Wilson catch.
Yes.
And what was that Patriots play last year? Remember what your tight end made some ridiculous smart play and they called it back.
Oh, yeah. I know there wasn't very many, so it's
Yeah.
I probably should remember it. But yeah, it was didn't even, if the penalty or whatever they called it had no effect on it,
Mm.
right?
It was one of the
Yeah.
smartest plays on earth. And then like the Travis Kelce lateral last year where they called it back. Like if there's something that's like 45% or better, just let it go. We want
Yeah.
greatness to happen.
Yeah, we want to see cool stuff. It's like
Mm.
this fucking NFL refs, and they just had another garbage week again watching
Mm.
football, nothing but flags everywhere. But like, when you're running off the right tackle and your left tackle might hold somebody and it's
Yeah.
10 yards away from the play, put it in
Let
your
it go.
pocket. Like,
Mm.
it's not affecting the play. Like,
Yeah.
enough already. Like, there's either that, or let's take some officials off the field, because there's too
Mm.
many. There's too many flags, and
Yeah.
like, there were 20 accepted penalties, and I know I'm one of probably 8 people who watched the Patriots Titans yesterday, but
Yeah.
like, it was gross how many flags there were, and for both teams, it wasn't like they were just screwing my team. Like, the Titans got
Mm.
completely bent over on a couple flags that there's just no reason for them, and yeah, it's too much. Like, let the athletes decide the game.
Yeah. And now they're adding in what we keep on talking about, that stupid replay assist. So that's
Yeah,
adding almost another referee. So it's like, let's slow down the game more by throwing a flag and then picking it up because replay assist said this. And I know
Though I will
replay
say, though,
assist.
with those, the ones we've seen so far, they seem to be correcting mistakes or misses.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like that.
Mm-hmm. But
I do like that.
when we talked about this last week, but it's like, when is, so now there's no more throwing the flag by the coach, or like what, now they're
Oh yeah,
forcing me. It's going to be very weird when it's like, well, why didn't you just replay assist that? Why
yeah,
am I using my flag?
yeah.
It's
And
going
it's
to go
going to come up.
BKS.
You're right. It's going to come up in the playoff game at some point,
Yeah.
and it's going to be like
It's going to be the
Mahomes is
Chiefs.
running for a touchdown, and the wide out to the left side of the field is going to like have, sneezed on the guy covering him 30
Yeah.
yards away from the play, and they're going to be like, it was nothing
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Right?
Nothing to see. So bad. Well, you talked about the Patriots. So I think that was like a win for the Patriots. So you guys, sure, you lost, but you saw your
Yeah,
quarterback is legit. He made that last play to
so
Ramondre
legit.
was insane.
Yeah,
And you covered the point spread.
yeah.
So for people to bet. And then you dipped below Tennessee for a better draft pick. So I feel like it was like the best option they could have had. It's like, you know what?
Well, yes and no, because again,
Mm.
the NFL likes to screw these things up sometimes. Last year, we lost to Washington, had the same record as Washington, and Washington picked before us in the draft.
Mm.
So it doesn't always work by the head-to-head, but still,
Yeah.
it's still, it could have been,
Yeah.
we were at 3 wins and they were still at 1. So that's a big one. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the kid's unreal. He's just making plays everywhere, but he's surrounded by just nothing.
Yeah.
And And so to have a competitive game and get ready to the end. My only problem, I'm not a huge Mayo fan, but there was your time, man. You tied it up on the last play of the game. Go for 2.
Oh yeah.
Sure, you didn't tie it up, right? You're down 7. You get a touchdown. Just go for 2. Win the game. And because you're gonna get as much as or more respect in your own locker room, even if you lose, right? Rather than going and playing 9 minutes of overtime and losing the game.
Yeah.
You're on the road. Win the game right there.
Yeah.
That's your time. And it happened again. I can't remember which game it was, and it was you're the team that's not supposed to win or that has a comeback or whatever it is.
Was it the Seahawks? Because they should have.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Win the, and even the Seahawks, though, they're at home, right? I don't mind if you're the home team, and because you got to just think eventually it's going to pay off and the overtime's going to help you. Turns out it didn't. But when you're on the road, I think always let's just go steal it right now. Let's just go and get it. It's one play for the game. Their defense is exhausted because they've just been chasing this guy around for 12 seconds.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing is maybe after that play, they were just like, you know what, he's spent. And we're not going to be able to do much here. But I just think that needs to be your mindset is, when you're not supposed to win or when you're on the road, just go and win the game when you have the chance right there. Don't piss around.
Especially with that team, okay, if you're in the hunt for the playoffs, but it's you got nothing to lose, and you might as well try and go for some gold. Yeah,
imagine you pull off you pull that play, the incredible play, and then you come out and you have your best 2-point play that you have designed up. Everyone has one, and you pull it off, and boom, now that's a win. And it was 2.5 minutes ago we were losing this game, and now we're all on the field celebrating. Game's over, nothing they can do about it. I just think that the emotional high you get off that would be far superior than if they would have won in overtime on a field goal.
I like your point. Good point. All right. Before I go to my next winner, 2 stats for you that I didn't want to forget. The Jets hadn't made the playoffs in 13 years.
Yeah, they're the shits.
Wow. And then Derek Carr has lost to 31 teams, which is a new record.
Yeah.
First time in history.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Who do you think leads the list? I mean, it's going to be kind of hard to think about, but I wrote it down.
For losing to teams?
The most teams, yeah.
It's got to be someone who's played in both conferences and bounced around.
I know you get one right, and then number 2 is close to your heart.
Oh, Tommy?
No, Drew.
Drew Blaiso.
Drew Bledsoe's number 2.
That makes sense, though, because he played on some not great pass teams, and then he went and played in the NFC for a bunch of years.
And then
what
the
about
other
someone
one,
like Fitzy or
no, but close.
Dalton, or those guys that have been around forever.
I thought you would have nailed this one. Once I say it, you're gonna be like that. Of course, Brett Favre.
Yeah.
He's third.
But he was all NFC.
Yeah,
he played the Jets the 1 year.
Yeah. So he's lost to 30 teams. John Kitna, 30. Drew Brees, 30.
Kitna's a good one. Kitna's a really good one.
Carson Palmer, 30. Matt Hasselbeck, Alex Smith, Joe Flacco, and Matt Ryan, all tied for 30. All have lost to 30 teams. Then
30 is still a lot.
Yeah. And Derek Carr's the only one to lose to 31.
Yeah. Congrats. Yeah. And he can make it 32 this year.
Yeah. I wonder
who
it is.
The Raiders, week 17.
Oh, is it the Raiders? Oh, yeah. Wow. That'd be great.
Yeah, so it'll be something to cheer for in week 17. Yeah. If he's still playing, even.
If he's still playing.
By the way, speaking of Derek Carr, talk about not learning from your mistakes. He's now got Dennis Allen fired in 2 different spots.
Really?
Yes, he's been a head coach in this league twice, and he had Derek Carr as his quarterback both times that he got fired.
Oh my god!
When he was with the Raiders, and then now with the with the Saints.
That's rough.
So maybe if you get another chance somewhere, which you're not going to, but find somebody else to play quarterback. It's just not a good mix.
Wow, that's crazy. That's the weirdest stat of the day.
And does it make sense? If you're if you're that coach and you're thinking, okay, what did I learn from the last time? Let's get that same shitty quarterback that I had that got me fired before.
Yeah.
Bring him in, and then we're cooking, right? How was that the thought process? That should have been the first sign that for the Saints brass to be like, you know what, maybe this isn't the guy.
Yeah, and the same goes with Devontae, who's I want to go back and play with him again another time. When he was looking at my final teams, I want to play with Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers again.
That's right.
Like,
Like he must just be literally the nicest guy ever. I'm sure he
yeah.
is. His brother seems like a great guy on NFL Network.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's something.
What everyone aside from Michael Thomas, who hates his guts apparently.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's a good source. I think
Yeah,
Michael Thomas is basically AB at this point from the
that's
Saints.
what Derek Carr said in his interview today or yesterday. He's like, literally everyone likes me except for Michael Thomas. He hates me, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
I
I
almost
think he's
felt
just a
bad
crazy
for him.
person. Yeah, he's just a crazy person. Like
Yeah.
something's not right there with old Mikey Thomas.
I got a winner, and I shit on him every podcast. So hopefully, he doesn't come push me, but because he would kill me. Anthony Richardson. After
Oh,
Flacco goes for 170 yards, doesn't score a touchdown, and one
yeah.
interception. So Anthony Richardson has to be like, "See, guys, it's not me."
It's not just me. Not just me. Never crossed the 20. The Colts never got inside the 20.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah, that's tough.
I got a rainstorm coming through, so if anyone hears a random sound, that's just rain. So no, hopefully that doesn't come through on the podcast. But yeah,
Hey,
might be a little loud.
what's before we leave losers and winners? What's with your Yellowstone as a loser here? What's happening?
Yeah, so it's coming back.
Yeah.
For everyone, one of my losers of the week is Yellowstone. It's coming back in November. It's been 2 years since we had it.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the season before where they split it into 2 parts. I felt like that was a cop out. Like, oh, part 1 and part 2, like 6 months apart. That's BS. And then the end of last season was just kind of it was like a soap opera with Jamie looking in the distance, like, maybe I will kill my dad. There was no real ending.
Yeah.
Just kind of like, at least give us some ending like in other seasons. They'd blown up, tried to kill every single one of the Duttons. It's a shitty ending. That's just like they're mailing it in. It could be just like Game of Thrones last season where they're just like, let's just get this over with.
Yeah.
Bullshit some writing. So I'm still 100% going to watch, but I'm just not happy with Yellowstone. How do you think you're just going to reel us back in?
Like yeah, they are, happened? But like they are. But I'm telling you, if we go and truly there is no Costner, and then they're just off screen, they come back and like, oh, by the way, John's dead. Like, yeah, I think I would just be like,
off.
Well, let's watch for a second just to see what crazy shit Beth says.
Yeah,
and then I'll get reeled back in for a little bit, but then I'll be like, no, okay, off.
Yeah,
but like, come on, at some point, and I know athletes can be fickle or actors can be fickle and these directors and stuff like that, and then it's hard to bang on Taylor Sheridan because everything he seems to do is awesome.
Yeah,
but like Kevin Costner needs to be on Yellowstone.
Yeah, he makes Yellowstone. It's true.
Like it's nothing. It's he needs to be on Yellowstone.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, no. Have you watched Mayor of Kingstown?
Which one is that? Because I've gotten into 2 mayor shows, and I think I started watching the wrong one.
Oh, it's one where he's like he owns all the jails, or not owns all the jails.
Okay,
he's like the mayor of all the jails.
I watched the first episode of that.
Yeah, that's Taylor Sheridan. It's really good too.
Okay, because I thought someone told me that, and then I started watching Mayor of Easttown, which is, and it's not
that one. That was good.
It's all right, but it's like it's I've only watched, maybe I saw 2 episodes. The one brother just died. Is that the first episode?
Oh yeah, that's the first or the second. I can't remember.
Yeah, so I made it that far, so now it looks like he's just going to start taking over. And
it's good stuff. Hawkeye.
Yeah, Hawkeye's about to start taking over. So it seems to be better than the other one that I watched, where I'm just like, everyone was telling me this was so good, and like it's a bunch of crime stuff, and I'm going, is like it's like a middle-aged lady who's battling some demons as a cop who gets her badge taken away. I'm like, what the fuck? This isn't. I mean, it's all right.
Stand up for? Yeah.
It's all right, but it's certainly not like I'd heard saying. So they got to stop. Like the names are too close. Like and this was not Mayor; it's Mayor because their name is, I think, Meredith. I don't know.
Yeah, don't watch that one.
No, man, I got to keep watching it because someone died, and they're trying to figure out who it is, and I have to know. So
yeah, that's fair. Should we go to picks, or is like the rain is coming down pretty loud? I don't know if you can hear on your end. I don't know if that'll be distracting.
I can hear, but yeah, if you got enough, we don't have to. But
I mean, picks, we got games.
Picks have been the shits anyway.
Yeah, it's like Ravens, Bengals. It could be a bit of a shootout.
Yeah.
Giants, Panthers, what a terrible game.
Oh, 49er. Yeah, that was my other loser that I forgot to mention. West Coast early birds. Because, I think I mentioned it before, but being on Pacific time, being an early riser, it's fantastic to get up and at 6:30 in the morning there's a game on. But this week, and I'm not going to be here anyway, but like to get up this week and it's the Giants and the Panthers. It's like, wow,
not great.
Will it be NFL never release it, but will it be the worst rated Europe game ever on television?
Oh yeah, it probably has to be, right?
Like, who's watching?
No one. Giants, Panthers. Yeah, that's terrible. In Munich.
Like, except for people that are really dedicated in fantasy and have neighbors, because there's no one on Carolina on your fantasy team. Maybe if you're in a deep league, you have one of the running backs.
Mm-hmm.
But like, who's watching that game?
You're right.
Thank God, I'll be
worst ever.
Right, like I'm going to be in the air on the way back from the East Coast, so I'm happy that I won't have to watch any of it. But so people that love the idea of getting up to watch football that early on the West Coast, losers this week.
Yeah. All right. Well, there are some good games, but I think my loud noises by my. I can't speak. The rain is just shit.
What's the top games? Just quickly give me the top three games.
Steelers, Commanders. Commanders are 2.5 favorites.
Where's that one?
In Washington.
Wow. Russ in the nation's capital. He's going to be surely taking part in one of the celebrations with whoever wins the election, I'm sure.
Yeah. Wow, it is
easy to predict what side he's on, hey?
Yeah. There's only one other good game. Lions, Texans. Lions are 3-point favorites against the Texans.
Man, if the Texans don't start playing better than they have been, I don't know if that's a good game.
Yeah.
Detroit looks legit.
CJ's look terrible, too.
Yeah, he really has. Like their line got just demolished on Thursday.
Yeah. Every other game is like a 7-point spread aside from Jets Cardinals. So Jets Cardinals is a 1-point favorite, the Cardinals.
And everything else is huge.
And then Rams Dolphins. Rams are 2.5 favorites. That might be an okay game, but nothing huge.
In LA?
In LA, yep.
Yeah, okay. Staffy just keeps doing it.
Yeah. Eagles, Cowboys, Titans, Chargers, Bears. This will at least you'll want to watch Bears, Patriots. I'm going to take this bet too. Bears are 6.5-point favorites.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. That's too much. That's too much. By the way, can we back up a little bit? Why?
Yeah.
The most confusing thing about the last 3 years, and I'm including this one, how does it always happen like this for the Eagles? They have the easiest schedule every single year, and now because they've beaten really nobody this year. I guess they beat Atlanta week 1 or 2, but the rest of their wins are against junk. And then now they go to play Dallas and Dak's out. CD's hurt. Mm-hmm. Not that Dallas is any good, but now they're going to be really the shits. Like, I don't understand how they're the luckiest team ever.
Yeah. Then they've got. It gets a little bit tougher.
It's got to get tougher.
Then they got Commanders, which I'm interested about the Commanders because they haven't played anyone, and I think they might be due for a bit of a downtrend. Rams, Ravens, Panthers, shitty games, Steelers, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. So, I mean, they should win the bulk of the remaining
There's
games.
only maybe 2 losses in there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fine with it because I have the Eagles to win the division, so.
Yeah, it's going to come down to those 2 commies games, isn't it?
It sure is.
Yeah, I think you're right, though. I think that it's going to be kind of a step up for Washington.
Yeah.
They, but even last year when they were the shits, I think they beat Philly once.
No.
Yeah, those weird division games, man. I just never trust them.
I got my parlay of the week ready. Ready for it?
Okay.
Parlay of the week. I've got the Bills to cover 4.5 points over the Colts. I think they crush them. Steelers to cover the 2.5 points that they're, not even to cover, just to win outright, but they're 2.5 dogs.
Yeah.
The Patriots to cover 6.5 points for the Bears.
Yes.
And I think that's it.
That's a good one.
A little three game parlay.
I like it.
Perfect. All right.
And come up with some picks for next week because it's looking like Flea probably pulled the shoot on our parlay group, so we're gonna need some winners.
I love it. All right, guys. Well, Uncle Blaiso, Fraser LeVay podcast, faneverland.com. It just got revamped, by the way. Shout out Brett Nordine for a nice little revamp on the website. See you guys next week.